Smoke rose gently in the distance as the debris of the Russian warships bobbed up and down in the waves of the Tsushima Strait before disappearing beneath the sea. Admiral Togo Hayakuro, standing on the bridge of his battle-scarred flagship Mikasa, gazed across the sparkling waters toward the remaining Russian warships. On May 28, 1905, the Battle of Tsushima marked the end of the Russo-Japanese War, a conflict that transformed Japan into an undeniable great power. In just 40 years, Japan evolved from an isolated, feudal state to a formidable modern power capable of defeating a European giant. This is the story of Japan's extraordinary transformation, a tale of rapid modernization, military ambition, and the rise of a new global power. Before the Meiji reforms, Japan was a nation largely frozen in time. For more than 200 years, under the Tokugawa shogunate 1603 to 1868, the country remained isolated from the world under a policy known as sakoku. This self-imposed isolation meant that Japan was almost completely cut off from international trade, foreign influence, and technological advancement. Society was strictly hierarchical, governed by the samurai warrior class, and divided into rigid social classes, from the ruling samurai to the farming peasants. The country's economy was based on subsistence agriculture, and there were few banks, no modern industries, and a rudimentary transportation system, while European nations experienced the Industrial Revolution. As a result, the samurai class, despite their revered status, were increasingly becoming obsolete in a world that was beginning to prize modernization and technology over feudal loyalty and warfare. In 1853, Commodore Matthew Perry of the United States Navy arrived in Edo Bay, now Tokyo Bay, with a fleet of black ships demanding that Japan open its ports to foreign trade. Perry's arrival was a shock to the Japanese, who were ill-prepared to face Western military technology and pressure. Under the threat of military force, the Tokugawa shogunate reluctantly signed the Treaty of Kanagawa in 1854, opening 2 ports to American ships and beginning Japan's engagement with the world. This forced opening led to a cascade of internal crises. Japan was flooded with foreign goods, which destabilized its economy. The social fabric began to tear as Japanese society, particularly the samurai class, was torn between the need to modernize to defend against foreign powers and the desire to retain traditional values. Political power became fragmented, with various factions debating the best path forward. The pressure from within and without was building toward a boiling point. By 1868, tensions reached their peak, resulting in the Boshin War, a civil conflict between forces loyal to the Tokugawa shogunate and those supporting the imperial court under Smerking. This war was not just a clash of armies, but also a clash of ideologies, the old ways of feudal Japan against the desire for modernization. The imperial forces, which had embraced Western military techniques and weaponry, ultimately emerged victorious. In 1869, the last Tokugawa shogun, Tokugawa Yoshinobu, surrendered, marking the end of over 250 years of shogunal rule. With the shogunate dissolved, Emperor Meiji was restored to power, symbolizing the beginning of a new era for Japan. The Meiji Restoration marked the start of radical transformation and reform across every aspect of Japanese society, from government and economy to military and culture. Emperor Meiji announced in his 1868 charter oath that knowledge shall be sought all over the world, and thereby the foundations of imperial rule shall be strengthened. To further their modernization efforts, the Meiji government dispatched the Iwakura Mission in 1871. This 2-year diplomatic journey took Japanese officials to the United States and Europe to study Western political systems, industrial practices, education methods, and military organizations. The mission aimed to renegotiate the unequal treaties that had been forced upon Japan by Western powers, though these efforts were largely unsuccessful. However, the Iwakura mission brought back invaluable insights. Japanese leaders saw firsthand the importance of modern education, technology, and military power. They recognized that Japan needed to adopt Western practices to survive in a world dominated by European imperialism. One of the first steps of the Meiji government was to centralize power and dismantle the feudal structure. The government abolished the feudal domains Han and replaced them with a system of prefectures governed by centrally appointed officials. The samurai class was gradually disempowered, losing their hereditary stipends and privileges, and the wearing of swords in public was banned. In 1889, Japan adopted the Meiji Constitution, establishing a constitutional monarchy based on the Prussian model. This new constitution created a bicameral parliament, the Diet, which included an upper house of aristocrats and a lower house elected by a limited electorate. The Meiji era was marked by a deliberate effort to adopt and adapt Western cultural, social, and political norms. Western dress and manners became fashionable among the elite, and Western-style education systems were introduced. Newspapers, railways, and telegraphs connected Japan in ways never seen before. The government also invested heavily in modern industries such as shipbuilding, textiles, and steel, often importing technology and expertise from the West. It also established a national banking system and introduced a uniform currency, which helped to stabilize the economy and encourage trade. In this period, Japan embraced aspects of Western culture while also retaining its unique cultural identity. For instance, the government promoted the slogan Japanese spirit, Western learning, walk on Yusai, encouraging the populace to adopt Western technology and ideas while maintaining traditional Japanese values. Understanding that military strength was critical to national sovereignty, the Meiji leaders undertook sweeping military reforms. In 1873, they introduced universal conscription, creating a national army based on the Prussian model. The old samurai class was replaced with professional, merit-based military force. The government also began building a modern navy, purchasing warships from Britain and training Japanese sailors under British naval officer. By the end of the 19th century, Japan had established itself as a formidable military power in Asia. Japan's Industrial Revolution accelerated during the Meiji period. The government played a crucial role in fostering industrial growth by establishing state-owned enterprises and then selling them to private entrepreneurs, thus laying the foundation for Japan's future zaibutsu, or powerful business conglomerates. The textile industry, especially silk production, became a cornerstone of the Japanese economy. By the end of the 19th century, Japan was exporting silk to Europe and America, bringing in much-needed foreign exchange. Infrastructure development also progressed rapidly. Japan built a network of railways that connected its major cities, established telegraph lines, and developed port facilities to accommodate international trade. The government promoted agricultural modernization, introducing new crops, irrigation techniques, and farming equipment to increase productivity. Building a powerful military was central to Japan's strategy for gaining respect from the Western powers. Initially, Japan relied on importing foreign weapons and warships. Over time, however, the country developed its domestic arms industry, producing rifles, artillery, and eventually warships. By 1894, Japan was able to build and maintain a modern navy capable of challenging the Chinese fleet in the First Sino-Japanese War. Japan also sent military officers abroad to learn from European powers. Under the guidance of German officers, Japan reformed its army, focusing on modern tactics, logistics, and medical care. This included building an extensive railway network to transport troops and supplies quickly across the country, reflecting lessons learned from the Franco-Prussian War of 1870. By the beginning of the 20th century, Japan's efforts were beginning to bear fruit. In 1902, Japan signed the Anglo-Japanese alliance with Great Britain, marking the first time a Western power recognized Japan as an equal. This alliance, which was primarily aimed at countering Russian expansion in East Asia, was a significant diplomatic victory for Japan. It provided the Japanese government with the confidence to pursue a more assertive foreign policy, knowing that Britain, the world's foremost naval power, was on its side. The Russo-Japanese War was a turning point in Japan's rise to power. The conflict arose over competition between Russia and Japan for influence in Korea and Manchuria. When negotiations failed, Japan launched a surprise attack on the Russian fleet at Port Arthur in 1904. Over the next year, Japan's military, equipped with modern technology and motivated by strong nationalist sentiment, won a series of decisive battles on land and sea. The war culminated in the Battle of Tsushima, where Japan's navy annihilated the Russian Baltic Fleet. The victory shocked the world. It was the first time an Asian power had defeated a European empire in modern warfare. The Treaty of Portsmouth, mediated by U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt, granted Japan control over Korea and parts of Manchuria and solidified its status as a great power in East Asia. The victory in the Russo-Japanese War had profound implications for both Japan and the wider world. For Japan, it marked the culmination of 4 decades of rapid modernization and served as proof that Japan had successfully transformed itself into a modern state. Domestically, the war fostered a strong sense of national pride and confidence. However, it also set Japan on a path of militarism and expansionism that would have far-reaching consequences in the 20th century. Internationally, the war altered the balance of power in Asia, undermining Russia's influence and encouraging other Asian nations to challenge Western colonial rule. It also fueled fears in the West of the Yellow Peril, a term reflecting the growing apprehension about the rise of non-Western powers. Japan's transformation from 1865 to 1905 is one of the most remarkable stories in modern history. In just 40 years, the country emerged from centuries of isolation to become a formidable global power. Through a combination of political reform, economic modernization, and military ambition, Japan established itself as a leader in East Asia and a respected member of the international community. This transformation was not without its costs and contradictions, as the rapid pace of change created social tension set the stage for future conflicts. As Japan continued to modernize and expand its influence, it embarked on a path that would eventually lead to further conflicts in the 20th century, including World War II. Yet, the period from 1865 to 1905 remains a testament to Japan's resilience and adaptability, a period of dramatic change that reshaped not only the nation itself but also the balance of power in the world. Japan's journey had only just begun.